YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and I got some cornerback rankings for the NFL draft. Also doing safeties later today, so then we're finished with these. Some final mocks to get to, a trade scenarios video later next week, and more NFL draft content. Hopefully, we're hoping to have a live stream this Saturday afternoon. We'll keep you updated on that on our Twitter. But yeah, for these corners, there's a clear top one for me. The next two aren't that far behind, but I didn't have to think too much about it. But I do have 3 first-round grades. 2 are borderline. And then after those top 3, there's a pretty big gap in terms of top-tier talents. But I do like the day 2 talent, actually, because those guys can actually there's quite a few of them that can step up and make an impact right away. We'll get to them in just a second. Again, we're live during the NFL draft. Day 1, April 25th. We start at 6:30 Central. The draft itself starts at 7. We'll be live through it right here on YouTube. Making predictions pick by pick, giving our reaction analysis. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully you can join us for that. Subscriber goals at 20K. Support's been great. Clean that like button, notification button. Yeah, that notification button you're going to want to click because we're trying to plan with the other guys a live stream this Saturday. Don't have a set time, so you want to have those notifications on. And then, again, we'll keep you updated with our Twitter in the bottom right there. And in the description, there's a link. On to my number 1 corner. It's Greedy Williams from LSU. Super athletic, great playmaker. And then I've talked about it before. His techniques need some work, but it's something that can simply be fixed, in my opinion. It's nothing major. Nothing major at all. And that's what the NFL is for. Those coaching staffs, hopefully he goes to the right coach. There's a lot of DB minds, in the NFL, but pretty simple fix. But on top of, not having the best technique, sometimes you can tell what coverage is in by the way he's lined up. He's still a lockdown corner and a playmaking corner on top of that. There's a lot of times where you can tell which he's kind of giving away. If he's in man, he's in cover 2, cover 3. He's kind of giving away, but he's still shutting you down. So pretty impressive. There's some concerns about his tackling. Sometimes he kind of just didn't want to be involved, and that's not good to see, but I do think he can tackle pretty solid down the sideline, pushing people out. So I like Greedy Williams, a lot of upside for him. There's other guys behind him that maybe have the better technique right now, but it's not really about right now. You got to see where their potential's at, and he's a big-time playmaker and a freak athlete. Number 2 and 2 and 3. 2 and 3, they're very close. Very, very close. But I'm going to go with DeAndre Baker here. 5'11", 193. Almost looks bigger than that. You get the feel that he's bigger than that by the way he plays. So it's kind of a good thing. Not the best thing that he actually comes out at 5'11", 193. But that's a cornerback size to me. Everyone's looking for the lengthy corners. He's physical, and a little more athletic at the combine than I thought. He was saying he was going to run better. But I'm good with the 4.52. Lockdown corner is really what he is. Hasn't gave up a touchdown in over a year, so that's pretty impressive. Can he run with the fastest receivers? Maybe that's where he can work on things, but I'm not too concerned. He's very smart. He knows where to position himself in certain situations depending on the down. He's not going to give away what coverage he's in. Lockdown corner is what I consider him as. So I like him in the late round 1. Kind of borderline. I even thought about him being around 2 guys just because, it's going to be different for each team. With the corners, all of a sudden, 2 years ago, the lockdown guys were the better ones, and last year, the quicker and speedy guys were the better ones because these new school offenses in the NFL and then all these penalties on the DBs and more are going to come this year with the review. So, corner, one of the harder positions to play in football, maybe just not as valuable anymore. So we're going to see come draft time, but that's borderline there. And same thing with Byron Murphy, who's my number 3. He has the best footwork, best technique all around. Great hips, everything, But I have him at 3. It's a tricky one. It's tough between him and Baker. I just see a little more upside with Baker. Murphy, definitely more quick than fast. These guys are a little undersized. Not, he is weighing 190 now, so that's good. He weighed definitely under 180 during a year. But these types of guys, you wish they were a little faster. So, and then with Greedy, much faster, and then Baker a little faster. I guess since it's so close, that could be the difference. But very tight in coverage. Another thing is, too, he might end up being a slot corner, which you can argue that slot's harder than outside. But, since he's going to start off being an outside corner, but could end up being a slot, there's just slight things that really aren't weaknesses that I really had to, separate him from Baker, but I do like Greedy at 1. So then there's a huge gap after 3, and a lot of these guys are real close, hard to split them up. Number 4, I got Julian Love from Notre Dame, who I think is pretty similar to Byron Murphy. Very good technique, very quick. I think a safe pick. Like, what you're going to get from Julian Love. I think he's going to play outside corner, but very well can end up being a very good slot in the NFL, which it is a very good, important position, but we're mainly talking about outside corners. I'm always looking for the outside corners as the top corners, really what it is. But Love, very solid. You've seen him. He got knocked out of the Clemson game early, and Clemson recognized that, and they just threw all over their backup down there. And he actually came back in, and Clemson were still trying to throw down that same spot, and then Love wasn't letting any of it happen. Pass breakup machine, top of the NCAA the last 2 years, so that's pretty impressive. Very good against the sideline. If I had to point out a weakness, it'd be downfield, mainly more in the middle of the field where there's some traffic. It's kind of a deep ball. Sometimes he'll get turned around a little bit, but doesn't really give up anything major. And again, pass breakup machine. I think it's a safe pick. You know what you're going to get from Julian Love, and he's a pretty good athlete as well. Number 5, I went with Joejuan Williams from Vandy. I like Joejuan Williams a lot. I've kind of moved him up and down. It's a toss-up between him and Love, 4 or 5, two totally different types of corners. But Williams, there's some risk with him, and I guess that's what's splitting them up. Another second-round grade here, Love and Joejuan Williams. Got quite a few second-round grades for guys. 6'3", 211, he's about 6'3 3/4, just under 6'4", which is impressive. The Combine 40 was not good. Picked it up at his pro day, 4.55. He's very good in press, and he should be because he's physical, but can he run with the speedy receivers deep? But he's shown me what people aren't really talking about is his zone coverage is pretty good in cover 2, and very instinctive. He can read the quarterback at the same time as reading the receivers. That's what I like about him. So, I just worry about him, in man, one-on-one with a speedy receiver. That could be the struggle there, but I do like his upside. Again, I do like the way he reads quarterback and the receivers. Very good game against Ole Miss and the top receivers, and obviously in that game, 3 good ones. So I like Joejuan Williams. Next group of guys, very close. 6, Trayvon Mullen from Clemson. He's like kind of, his stock's been not really going down, but people really haven't been talking about him. One of the top corners in college football, showed every game throughout the national championship. Very quick, very quick corner. Was pretty good in press, pretty good in man. And I guess the concern is, because of his build, will he be able to man up, the speedy and mainly like the stronger receivers? It's a different league, so will that be able to transition? But I think he's a solid corner. 7 is one of my favorite players in the draft, and Sean Bunting from Central Michigan. I really like Sean Bunting. I'm higher on him than most people. I think he's a second-round pick. Physical at the line, can run with receivers and press. He's a 4.4 guy. Jumped out of the stadium too with his vertical at the combine. Super athletic, very physical, not afraid to tackle. Can play man, can play zone. He didn't play the best competition. That's really the only weakness, and that's really not on him. So I like Sean Bunting a lot. I can't wait to see who gets him. I think he can fit any defense. Number 8's Rock Ya-Sin. Again, all these guys are close. I know a lot of people are high on Rock Ya-Sin, and with these guys, I have to find reasons to split them up because they're real close. I do like him in the second round. He's got that wrestler background. I think that's why teams like him a lot. You like his attitude. You see him at the Senior Bowl. He wanted to go against the best, Deebo Samuel. Put up a good fight with him. Deebo won most of the reps, which you expect the receivers and one-on-ones to win the reps anyways. So very physical, but most of his big plays, the plays that people are falling in love with, a lot of underthrows, an awful lot of underthrows. So if those balls are thrown good, they could have been a different outcome. But he's very physical. He does have to turn his head a little bit, look for the ball a little more, and not afraid to come up and tackle, obviously, too. Very physical at the line. So I do like Rock Ya-Sin. It's just more of, guys like Sean Bunting. The potential is ridiculous. Amani Aruarie from Penn State. I like him, too, even though he's at number 9. So this is where the strength of the class is. Is there an elite guy? Maybe Greedy's borderline, but not too many top-tier talents up there, but Aruarie, pretty physical at the line, can tackle. I was actually not super surprised, but by his combine numbers, he doesn't look that fast, that quick on tape, but he can move. Just the quickness, in and out of breaks, sometimes he's a little slow, but solid corner. And number 10 is Lonnie Johnson Jr., who apparently is getting a lot of hype throughout the league. I've heard there's rumors that he can even sneak in late first. I don't know about that. I like his size. He's a taller corner, about 6'2", maybe a little more. Pretty physical, good in pass coverage. There's some bad moments in tackling. He can hit when he's there. It's just about putting himself in the right position. Sometimes he's standing up too tall, tries to use his hands a little more. Doesn't really put himself in the right position. Does have some big hits, though, if he's already in the right position. So he can hit. It's just a matter of trying to get him in that, better angles in the right spot. But there are some rough moments in that, but so much upside, in the pass game, very, very lengthy, can break up passes. So got to like Lonnie Johnson Jr.'s upside, but I don't know about the first round talk. Next group of guys, Justin Layne. Justin Layne's a weird one for me, very strange one. He's a playmaker. He's a former receiver, so I like that. Definitely knows how to read the quarterback too, and I think that comes, reading the quarterback and the receiver comes along with him used to play receiver. I'm not a big fan of his, whole technique and his footwork. He definitely can play still, but he's got some weird techniques, some weird stances, just even before the ball snapped. But I'm not too worried about that. It's sometimes I feel like he's too wide. He's got his legs spread so much. I guess it works for him, but and then sometimes he's kind of shuffling along the inside routes. Sometimes he can get, he can be had on the slants there. But pretty good down the sideline, pretty good. Like I said, reading the quarterback, did good against the comebacks. Pretty athletic too, very long, about 6'2". So he's an impressive corner. It's just the reason I had to split him from the other ones is, I'm just not really sure about his technique. I haven't really seen anything quite like it, honestly. I guess it works for him. But number 12 is David Long. I think is more of a slot guy. Very good in there. I guess he could be beat deep down the sideline, but mostly saw most of it. He never really was beat that much, but mostly covering the inside stuff there. Quite a few corners that can play at Michigan, but I do like David Long, athletic guy. Could possibly be a second round too. Then we got Savion Smith from Alabama at 13. Physical corner, not afraid to come up and hit, even if it's at the line, no matter if it's a running back, receiver. So that's impressive. He's inconsistent. Sometimes they have a great play. And then sometimes they'll kind of get beat. I think he let up, more touchdowns than the guys in front of him. But you can see the upside there, and he did go against good competition in his career with Alabama. But yeah, very physical corner. You got to like that. Can press at the line. Another physical corner is Mike Jackson from Miami. Big corner, very physical at the line, can jam, and pretty athletic, for his size as well. Then 15 is Jamel Dean from Auburn, who would be higher, but had multiple knee injuries in his career here, so that's a little scary. But he definitely would be higher because he has the size, the athleticism for sure to play, can play press, can play zone. So he's real good. He'll be in the top 10 if he wasn't hurt, but it's just unfortunate. It's one thing if it's one knee injury, but he had, I think, 2 or 3 of those. So it's a little rough, when you see that. But on to the rest of my rankings, which there'll be a link in the description for these guys. And there's some more pretty good ones, I think, here still. Isaiah Johnson at 16 from Houston had a very good combine, about 6'3" corner, so very lengthy, big corner. He had his moments where he shined. Then, like games against Texas Tech, wasn't so hot, gave too much of a cushion, I guess, to Antoine Wesley. Wesley had a day on him. So it's, he's got to stay more consistent, and obviously has the potential. He goes to the right coach. It's all about, I guess that applies for every position, but with these corners that need work on their technique and just have the size but need some work, it's really about which team they go to, because there's some, I shouldn't say teams, there's some coaches that continuously develop the corners like this, so it depends on where they go. Mark Fields at 17, I view him as more of a slot guy, pass breakup machine, not a whole bunch of, not a big-time playmaker, but he gets to the ball at the right time, very quick feet, very fast at the combine. Iman Marshall, another inconsistent one. Had his ups and downs. I really liked him in the Senior Bowl. I like his length too. It could be physical. He could potentially move the safety, I heard. So I can see that as well. But I really liked his play in the Senior Bowl. It looked very promising going forward. But I did like his play here and there at USC too. I just need to stay more consistent. Same with Chris Boyd. At one time I'm just standing up out of my seat looking at Chris Boyd because he's not afraid to come up and hit. He really can tackle, and he can run with the receivers, be physical with them, and man, just gets a little grabby sometimes, and he's not really beat. It's just, he gets a little grabby, and some guys you can fix that with. Some guys just will always do it. So it's a little risky pick, but I do like Chris Boyd. Tim Harris, maybe one of the more underrated corners. I think he's one of the older prospects, though, so that, I guess, is a concern. But very athletic, very good down the field. Virginia's got DBs and more DBs and more DBs, so they're all real good. Tim Harris, really the only negative for him is I think he's been around. I think he was at Virginia since 2013, so that's an interesting story there. Jimmy Moreland from James Madison, somewhat undersized. They might put him in the slot, so I guess that's why he's down here, because you may put him where he doesn't belong, because he is an outside corner, even though he's somewhat, maybe undersized, maybe needs some more weight to him. But he's been a playmaker, it seems like, his whole career. So usually that doesn't change too much. If somebody's a playmaker, they're a playmaker. 22, Jordan Miller from Washington, very solid corner. Definitely doesn't get enough talk because of Byron Murphy. Miller had a good game against N'Keal Harry even. So he's not super flashy, but he's a solid corner. Another, just like Virginia, Washington's another very good DB school. Jamal Peters at 23. This guy's real big corner, real long legs. Wish he was more athletic. I think ran in the 4.6s at his combine, so that's why he moves down here. But when the ball's in the air, he knows what to do. He can be very physical too. I just wish he was a little faster. Because it does seem like over the years, the faster corners are the better ones. It's just how it is. And Kendall Sheffield is very fast, but it kind of doesn't show too much on tape because of his technique. He lets the receivers get to him where it's too late for him to open up and run, which he does anyway, and which he has to do anyways. And then he'll catch up. That's where it kind of shows. He'll catch up to the receiver because of his speed, but he already let him beat him. So he has been beat down the sideline, but very athletic, and does have that recent pec injury. Drops him down a little bit, but once we thought he'd be another one of those Ohio State corners, not quite. 25 is Hamp Cheaters, playmaking corner. The teams will probably throw him in the slot because he is a little bit undersized. And then Ken Webster, who had a pretty darn good combine, from Ole Miss at 26, very inconsistent though. Has been beat deep. Does get turned around sometimes, but he has some upside. Pretty athletic, can be physical. Ryan Pulley, I like Ryan Pulley's tape. I really liked it. He had a very, very poor combine performance. Almost looked awkward. Not really balanced at times, which was strange. But I like his tape. He can be physical. He's good at covering down the sideline. So some upside there. I just really didn't like his combine. Derek Beatty at 28 from Kentucky. Then we got Brian Peavy, who's pretty underrated from Iowa State. I think Fenton's underrated too, even though I have him at 30. I think it'd be a solid late day 3 pick. He can be physical, he can tackle. And then Hardage is the same thing from Northwestern, pretty physical. Crawford's mainly just speed. I think people are a little high on him. Blaise Brown, I did not like him the whole week at the Senior Bowl, but had a pretty good career at Troy. Ballantyne is a small school guy, but some people seem to like him a little bit. And there's some most likely undrafted guys down here that I decided to rank, so 38 guys. Let me know your thoughts. Really, it's real tight. Like I said, Greedy's number 1 for me. 2, 3, very, very tight. And then 4 through really, we'll just say, I guess 4 through 11, 12. I like David Long. He's just a slot guy. Those guys are all really, really tight. Mainly 4 through 8. Like, if you bring those guys, like, Rock is saying if somebody had him at 4 here, I'm not going to argue with you a lot. I kind of just had to split hairs. I think Love's a very safe pick and can do multiple things, slot, outside. Jowan, it's just, something that hits me about him. I think he's instinctive. Trayvon Mullen, I think is a safe pick too, but could struggle against the more physical with some speed receivers. Sean Bunting's one of my guys. I like Sean Bunting. I want to put him higher in this. It's just the competition he went against. He's pretty much got everything. But he was physical against some, I guess weaker receivers. So can he be physical with the NFL receivers? I guess there's some question marks, but there's a lot to like about him. Rockison, freakish dude, so not like height wise, but just his build. Very confident guy too. You got to like that. So I like this corner group for the most part. No top tier guys. Greedy Williams is not perfect, but his potential says he can be elite. So that's my take on the corners. We're gonna do safeties just after this. So stay tuned for that. Some final mocks coming. We want trying to do a live stream tomorrow possibly. We still don't have it really worked out. So turn notifications on. Check out our Twitter. We'll give you updates for sure on our Twitter. And then we're live during the NFL draft, so hopefully you can join us for that. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.